word rational, we see that we have the word ratio, which is really just a synonym for the word fraction. So what we're going to be doing is simplifying fractions that have polynomial expressions both in the numerator and the denominator. So if we think about how we would simplify a fraction such as 7/21, we would just want to look for common factors between the numerator and the denominator. So we would divide by 7 in both places, and we would be left with 1/3. So we want to do the same thing when we have rational expressions containing polynomials. We want to look for common factors. So in order to do that, we're actually going to need to factor the numerator and the denominator completely. So looking at number 1, where we have 9x plus 3, I see that my GCF there is 3. So I'm going to reverse distribute that. So I have 3 times 3x plus 1. And then in my denominator, sorry, it's a little blurry, I see that I have 12x plus 4, so my GCF there is 4, and I'm left again with 3x plus 1. So now I can see that just how 7 was a common factor here, 3x plus 1 is a common factor here. Now I can only say that something is a common factor if the entire group is the same. So if for some reason this were 3x plus 1 and this were 3x plus 2, I couldn't say that 3x is a common factor because it wouldn't be the same expression on the bottom and the top. But since it is, I can go ahead and simplify this to just 3/4. Now the directions say state any excluded values. There actually are no excluded values here. It makes more sense to talk about that when it makes sense, when there actually are. So we'll hold off on that. So this would simplify to 3/4. That's the important part. All right, so let's look at number 2. Number 2, the numerator has a GCF of 3. And I'm going to reverse distribute that out. So that's my numerator factored. And now my denominator is not a binomial to trinomial. So I'm looking for factors that multiply to -6 and add to +1. And I know that it's going to be in this form since I just have x squared there. The coefficient is 1. Coefficient is 1 there. So I need +3, x plus 3, and -2, x minus 2. And now I can see that my common factor, my GCF between the numerator and the denominator is x minus 2. So I'm left with 3 divided by x plus 3. Now again, I can't say that 3 is a common factor here because this isn't a 3. It's a plus 3 in the expression x plus 3. So if I were to take away that plus 3, I'd be completely changing the value of this fraction. All right, so this is what the rational expression simplifies to, and I have to talk about my excluded values now because I have a variable in my denominator. I know that I can't divide by 0. So if, for some reason, x plus 3 were equal to 0, then I would be dividing by 0, which is not allowed. So what I want to say, this should not say excluded variables, it should say excluded values. So I want to take x plus 3, and instead of actually setting it equal to 0, I want to say x plus 3 cannot equal 0. And I'm going to solve this so that I know what x is not allowed to be equal to. The value that if x were equal to, then it would be, the denominator would be 0. So to solve this equation, I would just subtract 3 on both sides and get that x cannot equal -3. So if we think about that, if we plug -3 right in here, then we would get -3 plus 3 is 0. Can't do 3 divided by 0. We would get an undefined answer. So when it's asking us to state any excluded values, or really just to write our final answer, we would say 3 divided by x plus 3, comma, as long as x is not equal to -3. So that's how we would format that. And you only have to do that at the end once you've already figured out what the simplified denominator would be. So I'm going to have you guys do number 3 and 4. They look a little bit harder, but you already know how to factor, so you're going to do the same thing that we did in number 2, where you divide out your common factors. And then I will do number 5 and 6 in class. So go ahead, give 3 and 4 a shot. If you want to do 5, if you want to try 5 and 6, go for it, and make sure you fill out the bottom.